What's up, everyone? Lauren Sisler here, hanging out with Cole Kublick. It's week 4 of the college football season, and it is time to break this thing down for another episode of Head to Head.
Oh, let's go now.
I want to say thank you to our sponsors, the Alabama Cattlemen's Association. We appreciate you sponsoring our segments all season long. All right, Cole, week 4 of the season. We got to start before we get into Auburn's matchup with Missouri at home in Jordan-Hare Stadium. Penn State defeated 41-12. Not a pretty scene. I think one of the more positive things was the fans showed up. I heard it was crazy. From home, it looked like a great environment by all accounts, everyone I talked to. But unfortunately, it didn't get the job done. And so, some key takeaways, obviously penalties continues to hurt them. You're not feeding Tank Bigsby the football. 9 carries. I want to get your take on that. And of course, turnovers. Huge issue with the turnovers. The turnover margin right now, not in their favor. So before we get into this matchup with Missouri, how do you establish an offensive identity with this football team and the personnel that you have?
I think it's easy. You just said it, and it's feed Tank Bigsby. We mentioned last week 21 for, I think, 111, 121, something like that last year, and I said that's not even going to be enough for this year. He needs to go above and beyond that, go past that. I think Tank's been over 30 carries once in his career. And, my producer on my morning show here on WJOX, Damian Mitchell, had a great point yesterday when we were talking about it. He said, when have we seen Tank Bigsby tired? When have we just seen him gassed? Mm-hmm. And I go back, I played for Tuberville, and I can remember right after I left, we would feed Rudy Johnson 36, 38 carries. I can remember Carnell Williams, I think he went 40 and 42 in consecutive games. I know he had 42 at Georgia. They were not afraid to say, this is our guy, this is our identity, let's establish it, and we're going to stick with it. And it's one of the things about the team that Auburn's going to play this week that I appreciate, and Eli Drinkwitz in Missouri, is they'll have a loss of 3, they'll have a 1-yard gain, they'll have no gain, but they're not getting away from the run game. They're going to stick with the stretch play, they're going to build things off of it. Mm-hmm. That is going to be who they are. And that just wasn't enough Tank, plain and simple. You can talk about quarterbacks, offensive line. He goes for 5 on his first carry, then I think he went for 9, then I think he goes for 7. It was there. The stretch play with Tank Bigsby was there, and you needed to lean on it. So there are a lot of things that we can point to. There weren't a lot of positives to take away, be it individually or as a position group or collectively as a team. But you got punched in the face by Penn State in your house, and I'll give full credit to James Franklin. It was a great plan. I'll give a ton of credit to Sean Clifford.
Yeah, I was about to say.
That young man's played Auburn twice. He's 2-0. He hasn't thrown an interception. He hasn't been sacked in those 2 games either. And the thing that I noticed, Lauren, the second time that I went back and watched it was, I understand the stats weren't there. The kid caught a pass. He ran a touchdown in. He got knocked on his rear end, which is a massive momentum play for Auburn. What does he do? He gets up the next play and goes and converts a quarterback sneak, then goes down and scores with him running the ball in for a touchdown. He's directing traffic the entire time. I haven't seen a quarterback operate. Now, manage has a negative connotation, so I'm not going to use that word. Operate an offense the way that he did Saturday afternoon. He deserves a ton of credit for it.
And I think that the Auburn defense did not have an answer. They could not get pressure on him. And to your point, he operated things magnificently in an incredible environment. That place was rocking, obviously, and to be able to communicate the way that he did and keep his poise certainly speaks volumes to them and definitely carries the momentum for Penn State moving forward. So as we turn the page to Missouri, Missouri makes its first trip to Jordan-Hare Stadium. Eli Drinkwitz, obviously, props to him. I know this has not been the greatest season, and a lot of people argue that Missouri just kind of falls there at the bottom of the barrel and, the team to beat, and that this perhaps is the one game that Auburn might have the best shot at winning the rest of the way on their schedule. So when you talk about this matchup, Missouri certainly doesn't play well on the road, so I do think that plays in their favor. You have a, decent quarterback in Brady Cook. I think so far, last week, 21 of 30, 292 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. Where do you think Auburn matches up against this Missouri team, and can they go out there and right the ship in some of the issues and mistakes and things that we saw this past week?
They absolutely can. There are a couple of good things that sort of play in Auburn's favor in this game. Number one, Missouri's offensive line not playing good football.
Yep.
And they have talent up front. Javon Foster, I think, is one of the best NFL prospects at tackle in the entire SEC. He's not playing great football right now. The zone scheme, the stretch play that they operate with, there's not a lot of continuity with it. There doesn't seem to be a lot of understanding. Good news for Cam Riley, Owen Papo. There's a lot of linebacker run-through with this group that can be used to find negative plays in the Missouri backfield. The bad news is they've got weapons. Dominic Lovett is a legitimate weapon. I mean, you got the number one recruit in the state of Missouri that's come in at wide receiver and been able to return punts. He gets handed the ball, he's thrown the ball, and he can make plays. And I think Brady Cook, yes, it was Abilene Christian last week, but he probably gained a little bit of confidence from that. There was a lot of quick ball distribution that I think he'll continue to try to utilize. And the defensive line is talented for Mizzou. However, they find themselves out of place often. It's not a very disciplined group. So if Auburn can do what we talked about a few moments ago, Lauren, lean on Tank Bigsby. And even if it's Jarquez Hunter, I have no issue with the changeup. Lean on the stretch play, lean on the run game. Like I go back to what we talked about with Tank, never seeing him. I've never seen him gassed. And to me, he's a guy that when you watch him operate, he invites contact. Those type of running backs, to me, they get better as the game goes on. They get better the more contact they receive because they feel like they are the enforcers. They're inflicting punishment on the defense as opposed to the other way around. I think that there are favorable matchups in this game for Auburn, but some of those favorable matchups were with position groups that let us down a week ago. So they're going to have to step up and play. That defensive line's got to play very different. The front in general has to play very different football because this is a run scheme that the stretch play is going to get going. They're going to give you rocket and orbit motions backside off of that. They'll run split zone with the tight end coming across. Visually can be very deceiving. So you better have an understanding of where you need to be and where you're scheduled to fit the run, or you could be in trouble.
All right, so defensive line's got to play different. Quarterback's got to play different. I think the turnover margin to me is just a glaring issue. I said it at the beginning, -4 this past week. You have a quarterback.
I haven't gotten a turnover yet, so that's really all it needs
from
to be
the
said.
defensive standpoint. Yes,
Correct.
Defensively, no turnovers. Offensively, obviously I had Auburn 2 weeks ago, and you get both quarterbacks, they turn it over. And then you have TJ Finley this week that coughs up the ball 3 times, gives it away one of those times. You've got to work on ball security. And Coach Harsin said in our meetings, like, we've got to work on getting turnovers. We've got to improve that turnover margin because the bottom line is you ain't winning games when you're at -4 in a game. Bottom line. So I think that's going to be huge. Win in the trenches, that's going to be big for this one. Prediction, who you taking in this one?
I think this will be, I thought last week was going to be a lower scoring game. I was right on one half of it. But I think this will be a low scoring game.
Which, by the way, for the
again.
record, we both bombed out on last week's prediction.
And we'll bomb out on more, most likely this year,
Yeah.
because it happens every year.
Happens every year.
I think Auburn bounces back. I think being at home is going to be big. I think the crowd will be good. I don't know if they'll be to the level that they were last week because, like you said, I was with you. It just looked incredible first couple series of the game. I think that will play in Auburn's favor. And I think that they finally realized, hey, we got to go lean on the run game, lean on the rushing attack. That slows the game down on both sides. I know Coach Drinkwitz doesn't want Brady Cook to have to throw the ball 45 times in this game. So I think both teams kind of shorten the game a little bit. Being at home helps a little bit. I think Auburn a little bit more disciplined up front on defense, and they can force a younger quarterback. Auburn's going to get their first turnover this week. I think it happens.
I like that.
And I think it's going to be a lower scoring game on both ends. I'm going to go 17-10. Auburn figures out a way to get this win.
Ooh, 17-10. I was going to go 27-13. All right, we got one more prediction before we go. Little man Locke here. What you got?
Say it. Say, War Eagle, hey.
Oh, big hey.
Say it loud. Say, War Eagle, hey.
Oh, big hey.
Can you say it louder?
One more time.
War Eagle, hey.
Rella. Oh, big hey.
Woo!